Hello, public speaking fans. Welcome back to the campus of St. John's University. I'm Professor Steviano, and I'm going to do a short video. I'm going to do a number of short videos based on some notes I took. They're somewhere around here. I don't know what I did with them. Oh, yeah, they're over here. Based on some notes I took about some recent speeches I took a look at, and some of the issues that I see with them that I think... there are things that I think need to be addressed. They are common mistakes people made, and common mistakes that I think people make when they give a speech. So I am going to talk about those, and I'm going to try to keep these to be very short and very, directed videos. So this first one is about external issues in speeches, external proof. You cannot give a speech where you simply say what you think and do not reveal where your information comes from. Because something is a fact, ironically, it must be supported by more voices than your own. You might think that's ironic. You say, well, something's a fact. It's just true. Why would I need to bring any kind of citation on that? Well, that's the irony of facts, is facts are things that everyone thinks are true. So the irony is you have to prove that by bringing in more voices than just your own. So the best speeches rely on testimony. Testimony is one of the oldest forms of evidence in the Western world, probably in the entire world. If I think about it, testimony is a great way. You look at it, it's across cultures. The idea that someone else can say what's happened to them, and that yields a certain belief in truth about a thing. So the irony of a fact is if something's a fact, it needs more than just your voice. The other thing is information, source transparency. You need to let us know where things are coming from. Let me write a couple of these ideas down because I think it's important for us to really understand what it is I mean by these couple of things. So the first is the importance of testimony in speech. This is bringing in voices that agree or support your opinion. Even if what you are saying is a fact. Facts are defined as beliefs that do not require much proof at all. They are accepted things, right? It is a fact that the sun will come up every morning. It is a fact that the deepest point in the ocean is at the bottom of the Marianas Trench or something like that. That might not be it anymore. As we explore, we get new facts. It used to be a fact that if you ate a lot of fat and a lot of protein, you would be very unhealthy. Now it's that if you don't eat those things, if you eat a lot of carbs, you're very unhealthy. So facts change, but this the irony of it is a fact is a belief that doesn't require a lot of proof, so you need to bring in other voices. So testimony are other voices that concur, not concern, with your opinion. This can be anybody who has a role that has something to say on the issue, whether it's someone who's a stakeholder. A great thing to think about in terms of speech. Stakeholders are people who have something to gain or something to lose from the issue that you're talking about. Professionals of many kinds. And that would be, for those of you who like to speak about sports, that's any kind of journalist or writer or any kind of Hall of Famer or veteran or anybody whose career or position deals with speaking about this kind of stuff. Let's see. Who else could be good testimony? Anybody who's had experience. Other players, anybody who has been involved in some way in the thing that you're talking about. That's what we mean by testimony. So that's the first thing. The second thing I want to discuss is what we call source transparency. That is, where did you find this information? And this is the old thing that like your bad teachers talk about citation. Now, citation doesn't mean anything. And in fact, the reason why you're doing it so poorly is you say things like an article said. I found an article that said. I found a paper that said researchers prove, okay, all of this comes from bad citation. This is the fault of all of your bad teachers that you had your whole life who think of the idea of sources as a rule. That is, an argument or an information or a point of a speech won't be good or a point of a paper won't be good unless it has cited evidence. Now, that's not true. Things are perfectly believable without it. They are. But it's always a gamble. It's always rolling the dice. You don't want to be in that position. Whenever you provide something backing it up, what you're doing is providing transparency and trust in building a relationship. Speech, and effective persuasion, effective argumentation, effective understanding, all the things we've been talking about this semester, is based on relationships. Speech and composition of oratory are based on relationships, not rules. So there are a ton of teachers out there who think, oh, well, this is a bad point because you didn't provide a cited piece of evidence for it. Not true. People believe that stuff all the time. Look at our politics. This doesn't have any bearing on it. What you're doing is creating a relationship. So if you say an article, all you're doing is following the rule. That doesn't get you anywhere. What you need to do is take it through layers of relationship building. 1, the publication, the name of the article and the place. That's a great start. 2, who wrote it? What are their credentials? Are they a reporter? So you could say, well, according to the New York Times, or according to a reporter so-and-so who wrote an article, on the Times, they discovered through journalism, right? So sometimes a journalist is a good source because they're out there doing the journalistic work to find the information. But the best is the name and credentials of the person who is being interviewed or quoted. So according to Dr. Smith, who was quoted in a news report from the New York Times by reporter da-da-da-da-da, that's the perfect way to do it because you're building the relationship. You're telling the audience exactly why they should listen to this piece of information and why this piece of information gives you credence and gives you credibility and builds that relationship of why you're interesting to listen to because you've done the work. It is not a box-ticking, rule-following exercise. That makes speech incredibly boring. Who cares that you have a fully cited bibliography? Who cares? The audience isn't going to care. They're going to say, oh, here's someone following the rules for a class speech. That's not persuasive. That doesn't get people interested in you and interested in what you have to offer. What does is when you practice source transparency, building that relationship of saying, I am going to play an open hand here. I'm putting all my cards on the table. I'm playing an open hand here and let you guys know exactly where I got this stuff and who it's from and why these people matter and why my opinion matters. So testimony and source transparency, only kinds of citation evidence you really need. Let's do a little exercise here. I'll show it to you. So I was reading the Washington Post a couple of days ago and I found a great editorial I might want to use in a podcast or in maybe some of my own blog writing. And my blog, for those of you watching, steveyano.com. And I thought that would be great to go and find that and cite that and see if I can find it and use it for to get a good citation. So I know it's from the Washington Post. Now, this is the library homepage, and there's lots of different ways you can get into researching here. But since I already know it was in the Washington Post, and I know it was a couple of days ago, I know exactly where I need to go in order to find it. So the first thing I'm going to do is go over here to Research, Resources and Collections, and go down to online journals. Online journals doesn't mean journals online, and you probably have bad teachers who say, an online source is not a real source. These people are stupid who say this. Almost every single published medium in the world has a website. Foreign policy, most of their stuff is digital. Is foreign policy a bad site because a bad source because they have a website? That's written in by the top defensive and strategic international political minds in the world. But you'll still have teachers saying, well, it's a website, it's a bad source. These people don't understand what research is. They don't understand it, and you shouldn't listen to them. Online journals, as any librarian will tell you, the people who understand research are librarians. Listen to them. They're the ones who get it. They're the ones who understand it. Not some professor who's like, you need 4 book sources and 4 journals and 4 online. No more than 3 online. These people are dumb. They just don't understand. They're playing a rules-based game to score, to take points away from you. That's all they're doing. They're not interested in reaching other people's minds and building relationships through speech, which is what they should be interested in. So online journal means these are the journals that are in digital form, that are good and credible, that the library has access to. So we'll click on that. It takes us here. Now, this is where you would either search by the title of the journal, or if you don't know, you can search by categories of whatever you're studying. But I know it's the Washington Post, so I'm going to type that in. There we go. I'm going to search. And look how many comes up. Now, there's a whole bunch of different ones that come up. This is the one I want. This is the Washington Post, the contemporary one. And as you can see, I have a number of places where I can look for it. Since I want something that's up to the present, because this was only a couple of days ago, I can either use Nexus Uni, ProQuest Central, Business Insights, stuff like that. So I'm going to use ProQuest Central just because it's my personal preference. These are all brands of databases, collections of various journals and stuff that are indexed. I like ProQuest. I'm very familiar with it. But any of these that say present would be fine. It just depends on what interface you like, because now it's going to take us to a database that's going to list all the Washington Post essays here, all the most recent stuff. So here's the most latest issue from today, the 25th of October, 2020, when I'm shooting this. But I want to search within it, and I know it's about nuclear arms race. So let me just type that in and see what happens. Nuclear arms race. I don't know what's going to come up. I probably could go through and look at the different dates for the past couple of days and see what's going on. But I'm going to try to search first. You see I have a ton of results. 1377. Well, I only want one article. It says most recent first. Okay. Let's see what comes up here. These aren't really what I want. How about we do a different search? Nuclear weapons danger. Because the editorial is talking about how we're in danger because we're not really paying attention to our... Whoops, that's the wrong thing. I did the wrong thing there. See, I already screwed this up, but I even practiced this. How about nuclear arms danger? So if you go back, it'll search in the post again, which is where I know it's going to appear. Ah, here it is right here. Risky game of chicken on arms control. Okay, let's look at it. Okay, so this tells you a lot right away. This is the full text from a newspaper. Here's the title of it. Here are the people who wrote it. Here's the publication. And here's the date of the publication. Now, sometimes that's really good for source transparency because you can say, in a Washington Post article from 4 days ago, George Shultz, William Perry, and Sam Nunn argued that, quote, that's powerful, from 2 days ago. Now, I could just say the Washington Post said that Russia and the United States have 90% of the world's inventory of nuclear warheads. That's a fact, right? It's here in this article. It's published by the Washington Post. They're backing it up to say this is a fact by our standards of journalism and research. But that wouldn't fully capture the power of this article, would it? Not by what I told you earlier, not by what we're looking at. It's the full power is captured by saying who it is who said it. Now look at the people who wrote this. George Shultz was Secretary of State for about 7 years. William J. Perry was Defense Secretary for 3 years, right? Yeah, my math, maybe not so good. And then Sam Nunn was the chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee and was a senator, apparently, if he was the chairman of the Senate. So you can say former Senator Sam Nunn, former Defense Secretary William Perry, and former Secretary of State George Shultz argued in a Washington Post article from 2 days ago that we are on the edge of destruction with unchecked nuclear weapons. The time to handle nuclear weapons threat is now. That's powerful. And what that does is build a relationship with the audience to say, I find it very important where I'm getting my information from. Look at how precisely I'm telling you where that information is from, because I care about the information I'm giving you, and I care about the decisions I'm making, about my judgment, and I want you to as well. The communication levels of this are profound. It's not just following a rule. You're creating a relationship between yourself and information that you're then communicating that to the audience to say, trust me, I go and find the information that matters. Another side note, if you don't like all this highlighting of every time your search terms pop up, you can just turn it off right there. I usually turn it off because it makes it easier to read. But anyway, that's what I am talking about in this short video. It's a little longer than I hoped it would be, but that always happens in my videos. More to come, more speech tips to come. This one about source transparency and testimony. This is testimony from 3 experts who worked together on this. Point that out to the audience. Don't just tell them the Washington Post said. It's not even accurate. The Washington Post is the container for the thoughts of these 3 incredibly well-informed, incredibly smart people who are in charge of our foreign policy at different levels of the federal government for many years. Bring that in. Build the relationship. Show that you can be trusted, and show that you have the best possible information to bring the audience into understanding why they should agree with your point of view.